I love my Sesame Salmon Bites. It's my favorite appetizer to make when I have family and friends come over. And my friends always ask me to bring it to their parties. They're super easy to eat. They're in their little bite-sized configurations. They're sweet, they're savory. The salmon always comes out moist. It's the perfect appetizer, I promise. So what's the difference between pickled zest and pickled citrus? Well, pickled citrus is when you actually pickle the whole fruit. You can do it whole, or you can cut it in half, or you can slice it up. But pickled zest is when you just zest the outer peel. And the pickled zest is super versatile. I love making it because I can add it to any Mediterranean dish like a tangine, or you can add it to salads, even cocktails. Super easy to make, so we're going to go ahead and zest the entire lemon, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Okay, there we go. Now to that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of rice wine vinegar, and let's add a pinch of sugar and a pinch of salt. Whisk that together. I told you it was easy. Let's make our marinade. So we'll start by adding miso. I love miso because it gives you that umami flavor, gives some richness and complexity to the dish. And it's actually made from soybeans with some salt, and it's either made with rice or barley. So I love to have that in my kitchen. We've got soy sauce, we've got some fish sauce, some sesame oil, and a tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Add that in there. And then we'll add some sugar. I've got here some brown sugar. I love dishes that are both sweet and savory. We'll add our salt and gochugaru. This needs to be in everybody's spice cabinet because it's the perfect blend of smokiness, sweetness, and that mild lingering heat that I love to add to some of my dishes. And I love it because it's not super fiery and it's perfectly versatile. You can add it to dips, dipping sauces, savory stews. There you go. And it smells amazing. Okay, let's remove the skin from our salmon. I'm using a nice fillet knife. It's very thin and flexible. This is going to give you your greatest yield, but you can also use a chef's knife with a Granton edge. That prevents the salmon from sticking to the knife. And we want to remove all of the excess moisture in the salmon because we do not want it to steam in the pan. We want to get that delicious, nice, even sear. And removing the moisture too helps prevent the salmon from sticking to the pan. So here's how I do it. I make a vertical cut just to get down to the skin. Then with my paper towel, I go ahead and I hold that edge, and let's just get a good start. You want to get right on that skin. Keep your knife even right on the skin. There we go. I'm feeling really good about this. And don't worry, if you get a little bit of salmon still on the skin, you can remove that later and go ahead and sear that. Those will be some nice tasting bits as you're cooking. There we go. Pretty good. I've got a little bit of salmon left there, but you can go ahead and remove any of the excess salmon. Okay, so now to cut the bite-sized pieces, I like to go ahead and even off the thinner edge. I'm going to slice it in half, and then the halves in half. You want 8 bite-sized pieces, and then we'll cut it in half long way. Perfect. So we'll set this in the marinade. I love this marinade, super versatile. It's great for pan frying or grilling. I like to use it for proteins and vegetables. Some of my favorite proteins are pork shoulder, some nice chicken thighs. Okay, let's give this a stir. We want this marinade to be evenly coated on the salmon. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, the salmon's ready to go in the refrigerator. I'm just going to place a piece of plastic wrap over the top, and we'll just put it in for about 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle some sesame seeds right over the top of my salmon bites. Of course, I've transferred these from the marinating bowl right to this baking sheet, and you want to just place them nice and close together. This way it's easy to press in those sesame seeds, and then flip them over, and I'm going to do it again. And what's great about these salmon bites is once you get those sesame seeds on there, you can go ahead and transfer them right to a freezer bag and just put them in the freezer, and they'll freeze for about 3 to 6 months. Just make sure to put them in the freezer bag right away. You don't want them to just sit there with the marinade on for too long, because it will break down the proteins of the fish. And make sure to get rid of as much air in the bag as possible, as this will prevent any freezer burn. All right, they're nice and coated. All right, so we're about to cook our salmon bites. I've got my non-stick skillet. I've coated the bottom of the pan with oil. I've got the heat set at medium-high. My oil is nice and hot. Let's transfer the salmon. So you really want to stick to 2 minutes aside, because if you overcook salmon, some of the proteins can leak out of the salmon. That's when you're going to get that white ooze. And that just means that the salmon has actually gotten above 140 degrees, and you don't want that to happen. So that's why stick to the 2 minutes aside. This way your salmon will be perfectly cooked and nice and moist. So you don't want to move your salmon around in the pan prior to about 1.5 minutes. You want to wait so it gets a nice crispy edge to it. And the brown bits, don't worry, you want those. Those are going to be extra flavorful. They're ready to go. Let's transfer them to our serving tray. Perfect. I love garnishing these salmon bites. Add a little of the pickled zest. Look at how pretty that is. These salmon bites go with so many things. I love to serve them with vegetables. My favorites are Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and asparagus. But these are also really good with some white rice. And my all-time favorite, because my Irish is coming out, is mashed potatoes. So let's zest these up. This is really going to brighten up the flavor of the salmon. Perfect. Let's add the cilantro. Some crushed red pepper. And let's put a little toothpick in each one. Makes it easy to eat and serve. We're all done. These look perfect. They smell delicious, and I promise you, they taste delicious. Perfect balance of sweet and savory, and I hope you make these at home.